One of the accusers of Sean Diddy Combs can no longer stay anonymous. Meanwhile, the government is pushing back against allegations that it leaked information, and prosecutors argue that Diddy isn't entitled to more details about the case at this point. In a surprising twist that has led to a lot of speculation in the courtroom, one of Diddy's lead defense attorneys, Mark Agnifilo, abruptly left a recent hearing. Known for handling complex cases with high-profile clients, Agnifilo's sudden exit raises questions about what's going on behind the scenes. Stay with us as we dive into the latest developments and uncover the newest details from the court documents in P. Diddy's case. While it's not unusual for lawyers to withdraw from a case for various reasons, departures like this one raise questions about possible conflicts within Diddy's defense team, disagreements over legal strategy, or unexpected dynamics in a case that's already under heavy media scrutiny. This situation could indicate deeper tensions in Diddy's legal fight, potentially leading to a shift in defense strategy as the remaining attorneys adjust to losing one of their key members. The term freak-offs has sparked different interpretations. Some people argue that being a freak isn't inherently illegal, but forcing others to engage in activities against their will certainly is. With wealth and a lack of accountability, it's easy for someone to lose sight of reality. Diddy has felt the heat, especially as he reflects on how his circle has shrunk and friends aren't around as much as they used to be. Yet there's an underlying sense that he may not be completely innocent. After all, having all that baby oil raises eyebrows. The truth is he's fighting hard every day, and he seems determined to keep battling until he has nothing left, financially or otherwise. Given the serious nature of the charges he faces, one has to wonder if he feels any fear, particularly about the possibility of being locked up in a place like Rikers Island. The gravity of the situation is highlighted by the recent search warrants executed and the evidence collected, which includes videos and, yes, that baby oil. What Diddy really needs is someone to level with him. He could be facing a long time in prison. It's highly likely that people around him have been offered immunity to testify against him. Mark Agnifilo, one of Diddy's lead defense attorneys, has a track record of representing controversial clients and brings a wealth of experience in high-stakes cases, including those involving racketeering, trafficking, and white-collar crimes. His past work on cases like Nex IVM, where he defended Keith Raniere, who was later convicted of trafficking and racketeering, has raised eyebrows, but it also highlights his ability to handle complex legal challenges. Agnifilo's involvement in Diddy's case emphasizes the gravity of the charges and the kind of legal defense that's needed. His presence signals just how serious Diddy's situation is and the level of expertise required to combat such significant allegations, especially when a defendant's past public image and associations are called into question. So, does Agnifilo's departure indicate potential issues in Diddy's defense strategy, or is it part of a bigger plan? The driving force behind that request on Diddy's team is defense attorney Mark Agnifilo. If that name rings a bell, it's likely because he has represented several high-profile defendants, including Nex IVM cult leader Keith Raniere and Roger, a former Goldman Sachs banker who was convicted of bribery and money laundering. Before we dive deeper into those cases, let's take a look at Agnifilo's background. He earned a bachelor's degree in philosophy and political science from Connecticut College in 1986 and went on to receive his Juris Doctor degree from Brooklyn Law School in 1990, where he was recognized with the American Jurisprudence Award for his outstanding performance in trial advocacy. Agnifilo began his career in 1998 at the U.S. Attorney's Office in the District of New Jersey, where he served as the chief of the Violent Crime Unit, focusing on cases related to murder, money laundering, extortion, and drug trafficking. While at the U.S. Attorney's Office, Agnifilo established himself as a nationally recognized expert in complex criminal prosecutions and the RICO statute, which is exactly what Diddy is now facing charges under. He remained with the office until 2006, when he transitioned to the law firm of Benjamin Brafman, who had previously represented Diddy in a trial related to a shooting at a New York nightclub. Legal analyst Bruce Rivers has shared insights on the serious consequences Diddy could be up against, particularly concerning federal sentencing guidelines for RICO and trafficking charges. These guidelines are notoriously harsh, especially for defendants facing multiple allegations that suggest a pattern of organized crime. Rivers pointed out that if Diddy were convicted of these serious charges, he could be looking at a life sentence with no chance of parole. In federal cases like this, the stakes are incredibly high, transforming what might be seen as just a celebrity trial into a serious matter where one of music's biggest icons faces the threat of losing his freedom. Rivers' analysis highlights how strong RICO cases can be. In such cases, mere conspiracy can lead to conviction, making Diddy's situation even more precarious. Additionally, there are troubling reports about Combs, who allegedly kicked and threw objects at victims and even dragged some of them by their hair. It's important to note that these victims often needed IV fluids to recover from the physical strain and drug use. The evidence against Diddy is mounting, including terabytes of video footage and a large stash of baby oil. The RICO charges are central to the prosecution's case, bringing together multiple allegations under a statute that is typically used to combat organized crime. RICO laws allow prosecutors to argue that various alleged offenses, such as trafficking, misconduct, or coercion, are linked together within an organized structure. This creates a challenging scenario for Diddy's defense, as it broadens the scope for connecting evidence and complicates efforts to address individual accusations without tackling the overall narrative. The larger alleged organization connected to Diddy means that his defense will need to challenge the prosecution's claim that there's an organized structure behind the allegations, which include trafficking and other potential misconduct. So how might Diddy's defense go about breaking down a case built on RICO's wide-ranging scope of interconnected offenses? Diddy is set to stand trial in May on the sex trafficking charges. A judge in Manhattan recently established the trial date and addressed a gag order that prohibits both prosecutors and the defense from discussing the case or sharing any related materials with the media or the public. The defense argues that the government leaked a damaging piece of evidence against Diddy when a 2016 videotape aired on CNN earlier this year. This video, which features Sean Diddy and his former girlfriend Cassie in a hotel in Los Angeles, had been kept private for many years but was suddenly brought to light and shown publicly. The defense claims that investigators leaked the tape, while prosecutors deny any knowledge of a leak and reject the allegations against them. The judge has indicated that he might hold an evidentiary hearing to investigate the matter further, but that process will take some time. For now, both the defense and prosecution will submit documents outlining their positions. Since the investigation began, Diddy's legal team has firmly denied all allegations against him. Attorneys like Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Gagos have publicly stated that Diddy's case lacks the physical evidence typically needed for serious charges. They argue that the accusations are mostly based on circumstantial evidence and character attacks, which they believe are insufficient for a conviction. This defense strategy seeks to frame the case as a simple he said, she said situation, while questioning the credibility of the allegations and the witnesses involved. By doing so, they aim to shift public perception, portraying Diddy as a victim of circumstance rather than a key player in any organized wrongdoing. The question remains, will this aggressive denial influence public opinion and potentially sway the jury, or does the prosecution's case carry more weight? Evidence from secret recordings found in Diddy's homes suggests he may have been a voyeur, using hidden cameras placed throughout his mansions to spy on people. A lawsuit filed by Little Rod revealed that Diddy had installed cameras in every room of his house, including bathrooms and showers. This evidence indicates that he recorded several celebrities and artists during potentially illegal activities. These individuals were recorded without their knowledge or consent. Mr. Combs reportedly has compromising footage of everyone who has attended his freak-off parties, raising the possibility that the entire hip-hop industry could be shaken as federal investigators review the evidence. It's even claimed that Diddy possesses footage involving Beyoncé. Defense attorney Tenny Gagos has drawn parallels between Diddy's case and those of Harvey Weinstein and R. Kelly, both of which have faced intense public scrutiny and controversial narratives. However, Gagos is quick to highlight the differences, noting that Diddy's case seems to lack some of the concrete physical evidence that was crucial in securing convictions against Weinstein and R. Kelly. By making this comparison, Gagos seeks to proactively address and counter any similarities, emphasizing how Diddy's defense differs from the outcomes of other recent high-profile cases. Her remarks highlight the defense's aim to portray Diddy's allegations as mostly circumstantial, drawing a distinction between public perception and the actual evidence. But does Gagos's comparison ultimately help or hurt Diddy's defense? Given the intense public scrutiny surrounding high-profile cases in recent years, the defense feels optimistic, stating, "This is going our way." They believe there are many people willing to testify about what Diddy was really about. While some might dismiss this as typical hip-hop culture, it's important to remember that these are serious felonies under RICO laws. What are they getting wrong? In court today, they mentioned they've spoken to 50 witnesses. We've done the same. We've been conducting a parallel investigation at every step, reaching out to everyone involved. We're tapping into the same circle of people that he's associated with to demonstrate that we have a solid case. He's fighting hard because he's innocent, and he's confident he can prove it. Being innocent means he didn't do anything wrong, while being not guilty means they can't make a strong enough case against him. So, when we say he's innocent, are you suggesting he was never around for any of these activities? While this lifestyle may have surrounded him, simply being part of those activities doesn't equate to committing a crime unless those activities themselves are illegal. What stood out today was my partner Mark's comment in court. They never once claimed that these women didn't consent to what happened. Not once. Legal experts outside of Diddy's defense team have weighed in on the potential implications of the charges he faces, indicating that if he is convicted, he could be looking at a significant prison sentence due to the seriousness of the allegations and the federal sentencing guidelines associated with trafficking and RICO charges. These experts emphasize the weighty combination of factors at play, particularly the allegations of misconduct and patterns of inappropriate behavior. Their public commentary adds a professional lens through which the case is viewed, framing it as a critical moment in the landscape of celebrity legal affairs. This scrutiny places additional pressure on Diddy's defense team, as expert opinions have the power to sway public perception and potentially influence jurors' views. The question arises, can Diddy's legal representation effectively counter these strong external analyses, and how might they mitigate the impact of such influential statements on both public sentiment and the jury's opinion? The atmosphere surrounding Diddy's case has become increasingly charged, particularly with allegations surfacing about parties characterized by inappropriate conduct. Reports indicate that at these gatherings, illegal substances were present, and there were young women engaged in revealing behaviors, prompting concerns about the environment in which Diddy was situated. In response to these claims, Diddy reportedly instituted a curfew for minors present at his home. Houston-based attorney Tony Busby has announced that over 120 individuals are coming forward with allegations against Diddy, claiming they experienced various forms of abuse. The youngest of these alleged victims was just 9 years old at the time of the incidents. Among the accounts shared, one individual recounted feeling uncomfortable when Diddy put his arm around her, expressing uncertainty about whether that constituted assault. Diddy is currently incarcerated as he faces federal charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, but he firmly denies all allegations of sexual abuse, including those involving minors. The seriousness of his case has drawn significant attention from legal analysts who emphasize the impact that charges of misconduct and organized criminal behavior can have in high-profile celebrity trials. Experts contend that cases involving RICO elements, particularly when they involve well-known figures, set a precedent for the aggressive manner in which the justice system addresses alleged misconduct within the entertainment industry. As a result, public opinion may be heavily swayed by these analysts as they discuss possible outcomes and critique the defense's handling of serious allegations. For Diddy's legal team, this external commentary complicates the process of jury selection and the overall courtroom strategy. High-profile cases often face challenges in maintaining juror objectivity, and when media coverage focuses on expert opinions, it can further bias public perception, potentially painting Diddy as guilty even before the trial has properly begun. To combat this influence, defense teams typically aim to dismantle specific aspects of the prosecution's narrative, particularly those rooted in emotional appeals rather than solid factual evidence. At the pinnacle of his career, Diddy remains an iconic and influential figure in the entertainment industry. This status complicates matters for victims like one young girl from Northern California who felt isolated and uncertain about coming forward with her experiences. She grappled with the disbelief that could come from revealing that someone as prominent as Diddy had allegedly harmed her. Ultimately, she chose not to confide in anyone, opting instead to file a police report in the hope that authorities would take her claims seriously and conduct an investigation. However, she sensed a lack of urgency from the police, who, without even mentioning Diddy's name, seemed to dismiss her concerns. This left her feeling that disclosing his identity would likely yield no further action. The existence of a police report is significant, especially in cases like this where many other alleged victims may lack formal documentation to support their claims. The young woman's attorney noted that this police report would be a crucial piece of evidence when they file a civil lawsuit. They plan to attach the criminal complaint to their filing, providing the report number for anyone interested to access it through the police department. The implications of this report are substantial, signaling that there's at least one documented instance of her allegations and creating a pathway for others to come forward. As for Diddy's response, it's unclear whether he has been interviewed regarding the claims made in the police report. The victim's impression was that law enforcement was not interested in thoroughly investigating her allegations, which reflects a broader concern regarding how police often handle such sensitive cases. Many victims, particularly women, face a troubling reality when they approach male officers who may not take their claims seriously. This dynamic fosters an environment where victim blaming and shaming can occur, leading many to feel unsafe and unsupported when considering whether to report their experiences. The lack of a supportive investigative process can discourage victims from coming forward. Legal experts warn that if Diddy Sean is convicted, he could be looking at a life sentence under federal sentencing guidelines. The gravity of the charges against him includes serious allegations such as racketeering, trafficking, and transportation for prostitution, each of which carries significant potential penalties. The most serious charge, trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, comes with a mandatory minimum sentence of 15 years. In federal cases where penalties can be strict and cumulative, this charge could lead to a life sentence. Additionally, analysts point out that even if the defense can create reasonable doubt about individual allegations, they may still face significant challenges. RICO charges are particularly complex because they allow prosecutors to argue that even loosely related allegations contribute to an organized criminal structure. This means the defense may struggle to separate specific incidents, as the prosecution will likely frame them as part of a broader, coordinated effort. The interplay between expert opinions and public sentiment puts pressure on the defense to develop creative strategies that effectively challenge the prosecution's narrative, recognizing that each detail of the case could influence broader conversations about accountability in high-profile legal matters. These stories are crucial to understand, especially when discussing the charges against Diddy. For instance, former Danity Kane singer Aubrey O'Day recently remarked, "I never thought I would see this day." She shared with TMZ, "We all buried this inside of us to keep moving forward, and it's not just me. There are victims you don't even know about yet. We're all processing what this kind of vindication truly feels like." Conversations with victims have been incredibly powerful and emotional. Aubrey O'Day's reflections resonate deeply, and of course, 50 Cent has made his opinions known as well, consistently mocking P. Diddy and highlighting the serious allegations surrounding him. What did he say yesterday? 50 Cent here. "I'm just keeping good company with the Drew Barrymore TV show, and I definitely don't have 1,000 bottles of lube at home." This comment came in reference to the more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and personal lubricants that were allegedly discovered during the raids on Diddy's homes in Los Angeles and Miami back in March as part of the indictment. The indictment also outlines serious allegations of a criminal enterprise where Diddy is accused of orchestrating activities that involved mistreating guests and obstructing justice. Legal analyst Elie Honig pointed out that combining RICO charges with trafficking accusations poses a significant challenge for the defense, as each charge adds to the potential sentence. Meanwhile, Diddy's current detention at the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn is a stark contrast to his previous lifestyle. Known for its harsh conditions, the MDC imposes strict limitations on freedoms and offers austere living arrangements, creating a difficult environment for high-profile inmates. For Diddy, this experience likely requires significant psychological and physical adjustments as he copes with life in a facility designed to minimize outside contact and enforce strict security measures. His detention underscores the gravity of the allegations against him, as defendants who are held without bail are typically viewed as potential flight risks or threats to public safety. There's a reason people say you don't want to end up with a federal case. Once the feds come after you and you've been indicted, the odds are stacked against you. In fact, statistics show that about 95% of those facing federal charges end up convicted of something. That's the reality Diddy is confronting. He's up against a system with unlimited resources. For defendants, matching that kind of firepower can be incredibly challenging, though it has been done before. Take the John DeLorean case, for example. He managed to navigate through it successfully, proving that it's possible. But the question remains, can Diddy do the same? While he does have significant resources at his disposal, if the case is as solid as the federal prosecutors have indicated, is there really a chance for him to overcome it? But perhaps they're not revealing everything they have at this stage. Typically, public perception is at its strongest right when the indictment is announced, because the defense hasn't had a chance to respond yet. The public reaction has been significant, fueled by comparisons to other high-profile celebrity cases, which only heightens the pressure on Diddy's legal team to address the intertwined allegations effectively. In cases involving coercive trafficking, federal guidelines leave little room for plea bargains, which means that if Diddy is found guilty, he could be facing a lengthy prison sentence. This case will truly test how well his defense can counter the power of federal prosecutors, especially in such a high-profile situation where public opinion and legal realities often collide. Federal sentencing guidelines for RICO and trafficking charges pose serious challenges, as convictions in these cases can result in lengthy or even life sentences. For Diddy, the possibility of facing multiple decades or a life sentence highlights the gravity of the trial, particularly because RICO guidelines allow for cumulative sentences based on interconnected activities. Legal experts have pointed out how strict federal guidelines can be, offering little flexibility for leniency when it comes to organized crime. Diddy's defense will have a tough road ahead, effectively addressing each charge and minimizing the narrative of organized wrongdoing will be crucial to avoiding the harshest federal penalties. Now, let's dive into the latest on the Diddy case. We have some recent filings to unpack, starting with the government's response to the defendant's requests for a hearing, a bill of particulars, and a gag order. There's quite a bit of legal terminology here, so I'll break it down for you. The government is addressing a few key points. First, they are asking the court to deny Combs' request for an evidentiary hearing concerning alleged leaks by the government. As we've mentioned before, Combs' team claims that agents from Homeland Security, who conducted searches of his properties back in March, were responsible for leaking that controversial video from 2016, which reportedly shows him in an altercation with his ex-girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, in a hotel hallway. You might recall that this was featured in a CNN report. The government counters, stating, "Hold on a minute, there has been no leak of any grand jury material here, as that would be against the law." They argue that what the defense is attempting to do is essentially hinder the introduction of what could be an important piece of evidence in Combs' trial. If it turns out the government did improperly leak this video, it might not be allowed as evidence in court. However, the government clarifies that the video was never in their possession at the time CNN published it, and they have never obtained it through any grand jury process. They assert that the defendant is mistakenly accusing DHS agents, who lack the authority to issue grand jury processes, of secretly acquiring the video without the knowledge of the prosecutors and leaking it to CNN. The government believes there's no need for an evidentiary hearing to dismiss these claims as unfounded. Additionally, the prosecutors note that they received the Intercontinental video at the same time as everyone else did, on May 17, 2024, when CNN made it public. On that very morning, the defendant's legal team reached out to the prosecutors to inform them that CNN had the video and expressed concerns that someone may have shared it with the network. But here's the situation. Prosecutors stated, "We don't have the original copy of this video. We never received it. We looked for it and were aware of its existence before it was made public," meaning they knew it was somewhere out there, but understood that it had vanished from the hotel's server. There are, of course, claims that Combs may have played a role in this video's disappearance, including alleged attempts to influence a security guard. So the government asserts, this was never grand jury material. They even communicated with Combs' lawyers via email, indicating they did not have the video prior to its release by CNN. In fact, in an email from prosecutor Emily Johnson to Sean Combs' defense team, which is part of this filing, she stated, "To clarify, as we understand it, DHS did not possess the videotape before CNN published it.